Council, I have a motion by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Vacy, that the information provided in closed session regarding A be received and that staff proceed as directed. All those in favor? Carried. And I have a motion by Councilor Wolbett, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that the information provided in closed session regarding item B be received. All those in favor? Have it carried. Okay. Well, we have a drainage meeting in about 3 minutes that we're going to be handing the gavel figuratively over to Councilor Van Claveren. Councilor Van Claveren, you require all of us in here this evening?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
All right. And for those that are watching virtually, once we're done the drainage meeting, we will be coming back for our regular council to close down for the evening. So in 2.5 minutes, it's over to you, Councilor Van Claveren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Hey, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. Why don't we call this meeting to order? This is the consideration meeting for the Fieldview Estates. I'm John Van Claveren, Chair of the Drainage Committee, and I'll welcome to our drainage meeting this evening. Those here in chambers and also any that may be observing online. Always worthwhile to learn and be part of what is happening on your drains and in your community. This is a formal meeting and subject to the standard rules of decorum. Kindly turn your phones off or set to vibrate. Quick reminder, if you have a helpful comment or question, we kindly ask you to raise your hand, and once you're recognized, state your name and address for the record. We ask that you refrain from speaking out out of turn or engaging in side conversations because we have this very sensitive mic in the ceiling that really truly picks up almost every kind of dialogue. This has, once again, is a consideration meeting for the Fieldview Estates. If there are any declarations of pecuniary interest, now is the time to declare those, or conflict of interest. The purpose of this consideration meeting is to discuss the technical aspects of the drainage report dated June 23rd, 2025 for the Fieldview Estates drain. There are assessment or pricing concerns. These will be addressed at the Court of Revision at a later date. Allow me to introduce our members of council and staff, our Mayor Gary Atkinson, Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councilors Bob Lovett, Kristen Rodriguez, Mike Beasy, and Alex Bojan, our CAO Adam Sabansky, our new drainage coordinator Ryan Tamming, the drainage clerk Jessica Wilson, Director of Public Works Paul Da Silva, and our treasurer Mr. Mike Garretts from M. Garretts Consulting is the engineer on this project. We will turn the floor over to Mr. Garretts now to explain the technical aspects of this drain.
To the chair and to council. So this report was prepared under Section 4 of the Drainage Act as per the petition of an affected landowner. The requesting landowner doesn't have a legal outlet for the water generated on his land and needs to pass through 2 or 3 properties downstream, well, 3 properties at least, to get an outlet to the Stonehouse drain. We had an on-site meeting in the municipal offices on December 20th, 2024. We had a second meeting to go over some alternatives on April 3rd, 2025. The existing conditions. So the Fieldview Estates incorporated lands. They're an undeveloped land in the town of Plympton-Wyoming that utilize a private drain on the west limit of their property to outlet their stormwater. So that's right behind CR Creative is the outlet. I inspected the drain, surveyed the drain, and determined the watershed. The original drain was a concrete drain. One section of it was replaced with HDPE with PVC sections at the manholes, and that was the part that Johnson Construction replaced on their own because it was a private drain. We don't know when it was replaced, but it was still it was videoed. We looked at it; it was still in good shape. Actually, the whole drain wasn't in bad shape for the age. It was pretty deep on Advantage's land, so I think the problems on this drain were the shallower at the outlet. On the Johnson lands, they were a bit shallower than they were on the rest of it. The drain also has one flat section through Porter Concrete or Canton Concrete right now, and that's it for that. It's sized to me. I can't remember if it's I did size. It's not sized to like the development standard. This is being incorporated into the drain, and then they're gonna have to restrict the flows on their land to the value that they're allotted in the report. The scope of work includes putting a new drain from the Stonehouse drain across Canton's lands, across Advantage's lands, and right behind CR Creative. There's a catch basin on the Fieldview Estates lands, and Johnson's private house ties into that as well. So the private drain's incorporated, and then we're installing a bypass around the section of the drain that was plugged on the Johnson lands, and we're leaving it connected because the landowner requested it as a backup in case his surcharge or the drain on his land collapses more of the section, and then he'd at least back up and go into the junction box. And at some point in the future, he can tie in. He's allowed to in the report to tie in anything he wants into those drains, provided he meets the requirement for the flow. But it's all been sized for the Johnson lands at the low end. I also prepared a schedule of maintenance for the drain and specifications. So the design was really just to maintain the existing conditions. The landowners wanted to keep the drain. They were happy with the level of service that they had. So because we weren't replacing the entire drain, the concrete drain, I only sized the realignment to meet the current standards. It's a bit better, obviously, because we use HDPE pipe, but it's not going to bring it up to like the 2-year storm or anything. It's going to be around the 20 millimeter per 24-hour drainage coefficient. Estimated cost of $89,659, which includes engineering fees and an inspection allowance. The assessment has generally been assessed as 65% of the estimated cost as a benefit assessment. The remainder assessed as an outlet assessment to upstream properties based on equivalent hectares. That number is a bit different than normal because one of the landowners, or petitioning landowner, has taken on more costs, willingly taken on more costs to offset the cost to the adjacent lands. There's allowances in the report under section 29, 30, and 31. So section 31 allowances are for incorporating the old drain. So it's old, but it's still in good shape. We videoed it, so there is a value. So when you're one of the landowners on that drain and you bought your property, you bought that private drain, and now that we're gonna incorporate, we gave them an allowance for it. Of course, they're paying for the allowance as well, but they do, if it's on your land, you get a bit of a break, I guess. There's maintenance provisions in the report, construction specifications in the report, and a plan and profile drawing in the report, and I can answer any questions.
Any questions out there on the floor in our gallery? Any comments you'd like to make or any questions for our engineer? Hold on, council. Any council members have any questions for Mr. Garretts? Yeah, Councilor Rodriguez.
I just want to be clear that everybody is okay now. There were some concerns, but everybody's okay with what you've proposed.
To the chair and to the council, yes. So we had meetings originally. We had a meeting because of the size. So we videoed it. The owner videoed it. Sorry, the person who petitioned videoed it across all the properties. We found out which sections were plugged, and that's the part we're replacing. But the landowners, all the landowners, benefiting landowners, sorry, have agreed to this. The beyond the benefiting, they're really small pieces of land, and all that's going to happen is it's going to back up on the benefiting landowners. Not very much because it's got to travel pretty far, but they've all agreed to that. They understand in the report. It's also been written to document that that's been said, so that down the road, if they have to replace this drain when someone else wants to develop, they may have to, yeah, if they don't want to control it. Right now, I would say the petitioning landowner has to do the most control out of anyone because he has such a small piece of land. And if you can picture, the piece going across Cantons is almost flat. Everyone that drains to that gets their portion, including upstream non-benefiting landowners. So they all get their portion. So Advantage has more, obviously, than Fieldview Estates. Johnson Construction has more than Fieldview Estates because you only get your piece of that pipe. But they're all willing to do it. I believe Fieldview Estates, the owners here, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they've given it to their engineer. I'm sure they have, and they've been able to work with it. And if Fieldview can work with it at that level, then I suspect that the other people will try to work with it as well. They're still, just so you're clear, like when they develop and go through a site plan, they still have to meet the requirements, just like the landowner did. They can't just, like, if they're going to develop, they're going to have a stormwater management plan. And that's when, right now, everything works perfect in their mind. But eventually they're going to have to, if they do any expansions, there'll be a stormwater management plan, and then they're going to have to control it. I mean, they're willing to do that. So I've thought about it a lot, and I can't force them to do something if they're willing to do that. Advantage has a pretty big property. Canton has a very large property. I would say the worst land was in terms of volume. It would be Fieldview or Fieldview Estates because their parcel's small and they got to control, and they're doing it. So,
And they'll be responsible for when they develop the site plan for all those costs.
yeah, this is just the drain. So that's in addition. We're just giving them an outlet to tie their stormwater management pond into.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on council? Sure there's no questions out there? Okay. And there's no questions online?
No.
Okay. All right, I have a motion here. Signed by Councillor Bob Levette and seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen that the report by M. Garrett's Consulting Incorporated dated June 23rd, 2025 regarding the Fieldview Estates drain be adopted as presented, and that provisional bylaw 71 of 2025 be taken as having been read a first and second time, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All in favor? It's carried. Second motion is signed by Councillor Bob Levette and seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen that the consideration meeting for the Fieldview Estates drain be adjourned. Favor? So carried. And thank you. That does indeed conclude our drainage meeting. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, council, we've finished the business of the evening. I have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren. That bylaw 75, 2025 being a bylaw to confirm all resolutions to the council meeting held July the 9th, 2025 be taken as read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All those in favor? That is carried. And I have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, that the regular council meeting be adjourned until the next regular meeting to be held on July the 30th, 2025, commencing at 5 p.m. All those in favor? And is carried. For those who joined with us this evening, thank you again. This meeting will be adjourned. We'll see you on the next meeting.